Hello. In my previous videos, I have talked to you about the difference between a change and a transition plan, about the biggest value of a transition plan, and that you don't need a change to start building your transition plan. Well, today I want to tell you about the elements of a transition plan. Well, I'm a foodie, so I have brought a sandwich with me because a transition plan has three elements: the top, the in between, and the bottom. And I want you to take this sandwich and put it where you are in front of you. And let's talk about it. So, the top, the top of the sandwich of your transition plan is who you were before the change hit you. Because most of the times we are not aware of the change. But let's say the change happened this morning, yesterday, you were somebody. And this represents who you were. Now, also knowing that every beginning starts with an ending, this is the ending before the beginning can start. This is where you're going to say goodbye to something. With some changes, we intuitively know that something's going to end. Like when you get promoted, you're going to stop doing the work that you've done before. If you move to a new city, you're going to stop seeing the people that you were working with, you were hanging out before because you're going to be physically somewhere else. So this part is important in a transition plan because this explains why when we encounter something new and positive change, we don't immediately feel excited, but we feel some unhappiness, some sadness. So this is why, because this top is where we experience some kind of a loss. We might go through all the elements of a loss, but we will experience some kind of a sadness and unhappiness before we can get excited about the new, the change, and the beginning. And this top is where you have a chance to celebrate who you were. Because think about it, before this sandwich, this top was actually the bottom. So if I would put another sandwich here, you had to have a bottom and a top in that sandwich as well. So all the work that got you where you are today and all the work that got you to who you became today is here. And I want you to figure that out and celebrate those before, yes, before you move into the new. It's very important for us to define our old identity, our old habits, our old ways before we start the new. And now we get to this in between zone. I want you to think about the in between as you are on a boat about to jump in a lake. So before you jump in, you're standing on the boat. That's the top, that's the new, the old. And then before you reach the water, you are in the air. So this in between feels like you are in the air. The new is not operationalized yet, but you let go of the old. So this is where Shakespeare wrote to be or not to be, where most of us start thinking about who do I want to be and how will I figure that out. This in between is, I call it the emotional wilderness. Because as you are trying to navigate the external situation and event that is what we call a change, how to make a decision, what to do next, and so forth, how you manage it internally, then you also have to figure out how to understand and navigate the emotional wilderness that you are going through. And this is this in between part. This is where actually the choice shows up of you either quit the change, you say no, it's too much for me, I don't want to deal with it. You either go back to your old ways or you might be sabotaging the change so that the change will either last longer, will not happen, um, and so forth. So this part is where you go through an emotional turmoil. And this is the part where you decide that you're going to get through it. And this, once you move from this is really hard, this middle in between is where you make the decision, your choice, to then decide who you want to become, and where you re-energize yourself, you realign with yourself, you create opportunities for yourself. This is where some people say, I reinvented myself. This is where you make that decision and then figure out the details. And now we're moving to the bottom. Yes, the bottom is the new, the beginning, the start, the exciting part. Once you got through these other two layers and you are at the third one, you are super energized. You already have a sense of your new identity because you have decided who you are going to be today, right now, what action you're going to take, and how you're going to show up in the world now that the change is happening to you, that you have adopted that change, you adopted it internally. You might have not going through all the external steps yet, but internally, you are strong enough to know and to make that decision that I'm going to go through this change. I'm going to make it through this change. So, this is the part where you have a new sense of purpose, of belonging, of meaning, and this is where you become. And why is this important? Why a transition plan? Because I want you to not give up. Not give up because so many of us do give up. But understanding that when a change happens, your first thought is, I have no choice. I want you to know that you do. In a transition and creating a transition plan, you have a choice. You take control over, you take it back from that feeling of I have no control, because you can build your transition plan by figuring out these three elements. And then I also want you to know this because I want you to understand yourself better. This middle where most of us give up, it's because the emotions are so weighing on us that we don't understand what's going on, so that's where we revert to go to the old ones. So by you understanding the elements of a transition plan and you creating a transition plan yourself, you're going to be able to understand yourself better and to understand others and help others as they are going through their own transitions, because you making better choices will help you to align to who you are and who you want to become. And on top of that, I really believe that knowing about transitions and creating transition plans will help you to get through any change that's going to happen to you in your life, and not just get through them, but get through them successfully. This is what I wish for you. And this is why I shared the three elements of the transition plan with you. Thanks for listening.